What's up, nerds and nerdettes and wee little nerdlings all? It's your buddy Big John and G, the two-gun Pixie presents Legendary Gaming. Alright, we have another. It's been a while. We done one, and now we have another, my friends. Why you were here, we have another 20-sided shots coming up. First, I want to thank everyone that's been subscribing to the channel, as well as everyone that's been going out and checking us out on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Also, everyone that's been taking a look at our official Two Gun Pixie Zazzle store and looking to see if there's any good nerdy RPG-inspired gear, shirts, merch that you might like. Thank you very much, everyone. But that is not why you are here. You are here for the same reason I am, and that is to hear about a game. Yeah! And the game I want to tell you all about, well, not me. You've already heard me talk about this game. Now, I got two 20-sided warriors that had never played it before. Wanted to talk about it. Did they have fun? Or they want to talk about it because they didn't? Well, you're going to have to find out what the 20-sided warriors thought about Judge Dredd Block War by Game and a Curry. So why don't you just grab your peacemaker and join us at the Hall of Justice? And we'll see you down at the table. Alright, so we are down at the table now, and we got Ren and we got the Rhyme Master.
Hello.
And they just finished Judge Dredd Block War 2000 AD, and this is by Game and Curry. Now, this is the second time the game has been played. Me and Alex did a run through of the game, and it was back and forth, and at the last minute, boom, I won. Now, this is the second time the game has been played on, well, not really on camera, but I was taking pictures. I was taking pictures for the slideshow. And you guys have not played the game yet. This is your first time, so I wanted to get your first impressions of the game. So, go ahead.
Well, I mean, it was pretty straightforward. And the one thing I will have to say is it felt like, you know how we kind of took turns, like you would do your combat, then I would do my combat, but it felt more like we'd have to put our cards down and do it all at the same time just to add to the chaos that the game feels like it's built around, because it really, after a while, it does get chaotic.
Yeah, I agree with that completely, because it's the only time that combat doesn't happen is at the very first turn, but once that's done, after every single turn, something's happening. So even if you don't have a chance to defend yourself, like, that's part of the theme. It's like, this is all out. I mean, when they say block war, they're not kidding. It is all out, guns blazing, bullets flying, explosives, right? Everything is going on.
Hacking your opponent's
hacking your opponent's stuff. Yeah, so it's a really interesting sort of, try to keep yourself protected while also, take that for your opponent kind of situation. So there is for a simple game mechanically, there's a lot of strategy that you have to take into consideration, because you could end up leaving yourself open for an attack, vulnerable to an attack that you don't even realize is coming.
But at the same time, if you're too much on defense, then obviously you can attack, and the whole point is to destroy your opponent's gate. So to win the game. So you really have to put a lot of thought into it. At the same time, just prepared for what comes out.
And much like John and Alex's game, ours ended up being similar, where it was back and forth. Like, I would lose a couple of gates, you would lose one, then there would be a lull, and back and forth. I was trying to defend everything, and it did end up coming down to the last little bit. I ended up having two just by sheer luck. Like, that one was defended, but on the next turn, I easily would have lost one of them, because this was all going to slide down, and so it did end up coming down to the last couple turns there. But it played out really well. I mean, it's nothing too complex. Honestly, I first read through the book, I went, okay, this might be a little bit intricate, but then it's all really just like whatever number is higher wins. It's really what it comes down to. It's very, very simple, straightforward.
Or if you get that one right card that you need at that one moment.
Yeah, so it's honestly, it reads like it's more complicated than it is. So honestly, if I was going to recommend anyone playing it, I would say just start and go through it step by step, and you'll see it actually really good.
It starts picking up once you get used to it.
Yeah, because you get into a groove of what, it's the same actions over and over again. It's like, put this here, make sure that this is open, make sure that that's closed, and that's it. So it's very, very straightforward, very simple.
Now that the first game is over and there'll be less need to look at the rules, how fast do you think a game would go?
I think this game would go very fast once you get used. Well, again, we kind of slowed it down to get used to it, and then we kind of took turns, but it felt more like once you got everything would happen simultaneously. And you got to remember, it's not just me against Ryan; it's also the judges against everyone
else. Yeah, and that is the other part of this game that I wanted to point out, is that it's really interesting the way that these cards play out. So normally cards like this are just, you have your normal straight up and down, you know how it goes. But because of the nature of the game, with the judges being a neutral party in this and attacking everybody, you don't know what side's up. They have the same print, slash on each side, so you don't know what's going to happen. So honestly, it determines on what each thing is flipped over. So in this situation, Ron's side would be safe, mine is under attack. So he would be perfectly fine. I can leave that gate open, I can just leave my guys there for defense. I would have had mine vulnerable. Had mine
because he's facing you.
Because he's facing me with his attack value facing me.
And the target is in the center, which would be straight ahead.
Straight ahead. So that was a really interesting mechanic to take into consideration about flipping these guys to face the other way, or when they come out, like, you don't know what you're going to get. So it adds, there's enough of... there is a strategic component, like I was mentioning before, but there is a luck component that you just don't know what's going to come up, so your strategy would have to change based on what you're seeing. So it's you can't plan too far ahead.
Why don't you, you know what? Why don't you show how you shuffle?
Right. So the way that
the Justice deck,
the way that we were doing it, just to make it easier, was we were basically creating 3 little piles. In order to make sure that they would be flipped correctly, you honestly have to flip the cards. So you could just keep going and just choosing at a random interval, like, when am I going to flip one, when am I going to leave one sitting. So you'd flip this, because honestly, you don't know. So this little master comes out, I was going to flip this, put it that way. And the way that they're drawn off the deck is you just put it straight out. So in this case, that would have been facing me. That also would have been facing this way. Doesn't matter. That would have been facing that way. So it's like it all matters on which way the deck is shuffled. You have to make sure that you do flip them to make sure they're not all facing one player or facing the other player. Something I never even considered being put into a card game before. Is really, really
the whole twisting,
the whole
twist shuffle.
Not just shuffling normally, but also having to swap your cards around.
Now, do you think the chaotic factor of the game is too much?
No, I feel like it fits perfectly within the theme. I mean, I'm not that familiar with this franchise, but it seemed like it's in this situation it fit incredibly well, especially with it being called Block War. It's like, things aren't going to be petered out very, very carefully when it's a Block War. It's all out, like, all right, everybody start rushing to the wall and trying to build up your defenses against what's going on.
And Ren, you are familiar with Judge Dredd title.
Right, this fits perfectly because it's just a very typical street fight in which you have the 2 warring factions, and then you throw in the judges, and it's complete chaos.
So now, since you're coming into the game knowing the franchise, and you aren't, do you think knowing the franchise was better experience for you, Ron, or do you think not knowing it really didn't make a difference, Ryan?
I believe you could play this not knowing the franchise and still have a lot of fun with this game.
Yeah, I didn't feel like not knowing anything about this took away from it. Since there's not really too much of a thematic element to try to understand what's going on, you kind of just base it down to, okay, they're attacking me, I'm attacking them, I'm trying to protect my own side here, I'm protecting my portion. So being familiar with it would probably make me appreciate the way that this is all happening a little bit more, but I didn't feel like I was losing out by playing it not knowing the franchise.
Now, the rule book talks about upcoming expansions.
Yes.
What do you feel about that?
I'm really interested to see what they're going to do, because it mentions things about faction cards, and it mentions things involving victory points, so I'm curious to see what kinds of things they would do with that. I especially like the faction idea, and maybe seeing how things would play out with that, and would certain affiliations benefit the judges? Would it benefit you? Would it that's what I'm genuinely curious to see what would pan out.
All right, any final thoughts?
No, this game was pretty straightforward and very enjoyable.
Yeah, agree. This is definitely one that I feel like is, again, like I mentioned, the rules seem like they're complicated at first, but really easy to sit down and play. You could end up introducing this to maybe someone who's not a more avid gamer, like just kind of looking for something interesting to play. Maybe they like Judge Dredd, and you're like, oh, I have this interesting game, let's try this out. And then they don't play. But this didn't end up, I feel like, being way too complicated to understand. Because at the end of the game, it is just very, your number versus mine, let's see what happens.
So you were the winner, right, man?
Yes, I did win.
I won the game that I played against Alex. Mm-hmm. Now, Christopher hasn't played the game.
Okay.
And Anthony hasn't played the game.
So one more match.
So I'm thinking we have them do a match.
Okay.
And then the winner of that faces the winner of you will face you, Ryan.
Sure.
And then the winner of that faces me.
Okay.
My house, my rules. She got to trickle down to me.
Grand champion. Ready.
All right, cool. So we'll do this round robin of this, and we'll keep everyone updated on the round robin. Maybe we'll do a live stream of the next one.
That'd be cool.
We'll see. But okay, so that is our 20-sided shots. Our first impression review. Their first impression. You've already heard mine. But yeah, and then I'm looking forward to getting yet another first impression from the next two players. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining us here, as well as checking us out on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I want to thank everyone for going to the Two Gun Pixie Zazzle store. All right, we got a Zazzle store. We got shit. We got merch. And thank you for going and checking that out. But most of all, right here. Well, not really in 2000 AD world. That would be very dangerous to live in. But thank you for joining us here on YouTube, my friends. You subscribe to the channel, you watch the shows, you like them, you comment, and when we're lucky, you share our videos. Thank you very much, everyone. I'm your buddy Big Johnny G. With me, the 20-Sided Warriors, Ren and Rahman, and we are out of here.